The Timeshift.
And welcome, I'm Chris Hall and this is The Timeshift, my sci-fi fun fest, and it's great to have you with me as always. This week, as ever, looking at Doctor Who, the newest episode entitled Under the Lake. It's full of ghosts and spooky things. Ooh, how creepy. Now, as this video is something of a review, critique kind of thing, this video is going to be spoiler heavy. So if you don't want this episode spoiled for you for whatever reason, it's best to switch the video off now. Okay, everybody ready? Everybody geared up. Let us dive headfirst into Under the Lake. Whoa! Alright, so in a kind of slight, and I mean slight, change of pace here, my actual review of the story and plot details of this week's episode is going to be a little bit shorter than my actual review of the performances and such. I honestly don't know whether that is going to be the case, but that's what I'm planning to do, because I'm going to be honest with you, this week's episode from a storytelling standpoint I thought was fine. And this is a lot more of a strained fine than it was last week. Last week's episode was fine, perfectly fine, nothing remotely wrong about it which was bad or terrible. There was just nothing about it which really stuck out to me as being brilliant and amazing, though of course the worst moments. All stuff with Davros last week was fantastic and really lifted the episode out of just being plain forgettable. This week we don't have that, which gives us an episode which does feel remarkably unremarkable, which is a damn shame. I was incredibly apprehensive going into this week's episode because of the fact we had such a strong opener. The opening episode to this series, once again, I will say, is probably the best opening episode to a new series of Doctor Who we've had since Doctor Who has come back. That is a lofty praise, but that is me being honest. I thought that the opening to this week's, or rather this year's season, was fantastic, brilliant, amazing. Second one, not bad, a little bit wonky, but it was saved very much by certain performances within it, by insert name here, playing Davros, as he was fantastic and great and really elevated that episode into being something that would be truly remarkable and rememberable. This week we don't have that. What we have is an episode which suffers from many of the same problems and issues that I find time and time again when it comes to watching guest written episodes of Doctor Who. And I use the term guest fairly loosely because I'm fairly certain that the guy that wrote this week's episode has written for Doctor Who before, so they're sort of a veteran, but still the same issues are there regardless of how experienced they may otherwise be. One of the things I said about last week before I wrapped it up was how apprehensive I was going to be because of the fact that it is a guest written episode, and as such aspects such as characterization and tone tend to fluctuate very extremely between episode to episode. This was best demonstrated last week when we could quite easily go from the happy, boisterous robot Hubbard episode into Listen, which for many people is their most favourite Doctor Who episode of all time, an episode which really troubled and really freaked out certain people. Me, not at all. I thought it to be fairly unremarkable, but for many people it did freak them out. To then going into Kill the Moon, which despite my misgivings for it, it's still a story which has a great epic ramifications, and the sheer notions within it are fairly heavy, to then later on having an episode where the Doctor is pulling stupid faces at small children in the woods. So here we are this week, not quite in that same kind of massive black and white juxtaposition between two different tones, but something that does certainly feel a lot lighter than maybe we should really be getting with Doctor Who at the moment. It's kind of a weird thing because an episode like this, back in the day, certainly during David Tennant's time, would be considered the dark, creepy, scary one of the series, when it just kind of feels that little bit more light for whatever reason. I suppose for myself, it's the fact that it is the paranormal episode. Back when we had Russell T Davies writing Doctor Who, you could almost put money on it that the second episode of each new series would be some kind of paranormal episode, featuring a creature or a monster, from werewolves to vampires to ghosts, done in a Doctor Who way. Not literally being ghosts, but being some kind of alien entity, not literally being werewolves in the classic sense of it, but still being an alien entity. Vampires, just weird piranha-faced people, even though vampires do exist in the Doctor Who universe. or rather they did. They died out in a time war, and last thing we saw of them, they were existed in a parallel universe. But whatever, that's deep Doctor Who history stuff, which we're not really going to talk about here. To what we have now, which is ghosts again. Now, one of the big issues I had with this week's episode was of how accepting the Doctor was that these were real ghosts. We've had previous moments, previous instances, just last series, where the Doctor has pretty much been the staunch skeptic, the ironclad atheist kind of thing, when the notion of an afterlife, of a life beyond the one that we know, was brought up as it was multiple times during last series. He just put his hands up and saying that it was nonsense, that it was just hocus pocus, just silly, nonsensical beliefs, as in his mind there is no such kind of thing, and in many people's minds there is no such thing. If you believe that there is, or whatever, this is not the place where I'm going to discuss those things. I want to talk about Doctor Who. Him being a skeptic about that kind of thing, to this week being incredibly accepting of the fact that there are ghosts, not like gas monsters, as was the case way back when in Series 1 of New Doctor Who, but being legitimate, actual, otherworldly, paranormal, let's call the Ghostbusters ghosts, and him being perfectly okay with that, felt very, very odd. Like I said, just previously, this is the case when the many characterizations between the Doctor and Clara felt so drastically different to what we had last week. Clara in particular just seemed almost manic, near pathological in her desire to go on an adventure with the Doctor. It just feels really weird. We had an episode last week where she very, very nearly died, where she was almost killed by the Doctor in a Dalek outfit, which she was trapped in by Missy. And to get an episode this week, which was like, come on, Doctor, I bet you're itching to save the world. Felt very, very strange. It just feels as if they're just kind of going, well, the companion must be really up for it, so we'll put that in and we'll make a lame reference to a previous adventure, which was the bit where they say, oh, let's go back to the planet with the people with the long necks that have been celebrating New Year for 20 years. I left my glasses there. How quirky and wacky. Ooh. I hate that. I genuinely hate it, because it means to say that there are better stories out there for Doctor Who. I'm not going to say a joke here, but I'd much rather have seen the episode where they are off on a planet where they've been celebrating New Year's for 20 years than watch this episode, which was once again fairly unremarkable because of the fact that, once again, well, not unremarkable, but fairly at times. This is the spooky episode, the too spooky for me episode, the episode which tries to be evil and scary, but in the end of the day it doesn't really look that evil or scary. Mostly, once again, well, not once again because I've not said this yet, due to special effects not really being there. I find it remarkable that here we are in the age of CGI, in the age where Doctor Who actually has a budget, and once again the CGI still looks fairly pants. So when you had Voiceover Man, I say Voiceover Man because I don't know his real name, all I know is that he's the voiceover for many adverts, and I think it was in Batman Begins as the Commissioner before Commissioner Gordon became the Commissioner who died. Oops, spoilers. Moving on. I'm giving spoilers for someone we're not even really talking about. Well, I did warn about spoilers anyway. To then just being a ghost who mumbling all the way through felt very, very odd. And of course, we had the weird mole alien fella, which David Williams played in that forgettable episode from a couple of series ago, because they need to get the money's worth from that prosthetic mask. That's the only reason why you see certain aliens again. This is the only reason why you saw, well, we really had the bar scene at the start of this series in the first episode when Skrillex, the weird snake guy, was looking for the Doctor. The only reason we really had that scene was seemingly so that we could use all the masks and use all the props again to try and get the money's worth out of it. Because I can't honestly see them ever bringing the Ood back. I hope they don't bring the Ood back, because the Ood were crap. Anyway, once again, another thing that was bad with this episode. Oh, jeez. The ending of this week's episode, we were starting to really get somewhere. At last, we're starting to get somewhere. The Doctor, the whole mystery surrounding this strange alien craft was starting to sink down. And then, oh, fuck! Oh, God, we need the episode to end. We've only got 5 minutes left. the aliens have escaped, the alien ghosts have escaped, and they're going to blow the ship up. Right, everybody run! Everybody run, they're flooding the ship now, and oh no, the Doctor and Clara's been separated. This is going to be, no, it's not the end of the episode. The Doctor's dead now, he's died in the past, and he's a ghost now, even though we should have really saw his ghost before, because it's a past events, but whatever, time, space, doesn't matter, end the episode, back next week. This felt very, very, very abrupt. Just when it felt as if we're getting to it, just when it feels as if the mystery is going to start to unravel, or we left in space where it can unravel perfectly next week, it's this case of, yeah, it doesn't matter, water, loads of water, bad CGI'd water. We're not even going to put a waterproof camera in the water, we're just going to turn the screen blue as the fake water rises. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. End the episode now, we'll move on, Strictly Come Dancing, results coming up next. dearie me. And another bit about writing, which I suppose should be in the performance side of things, is the humour within it. Once again, contrasting tones between last week Clara and Doctor, this week's Clara and Doctor. You have the wacky moments, the silly moments, these you fucking wanker moments. The moments where the Doctor, he's an alien and he's not really used to human customs, even though he's been around humans for the best part of a millennia or so. He still finds them really weird and such, so he has to have cue cards with him to help him when he does a social faux pas. Kill me. I mean, seriously, that joke wasn't exactly bad in the sense that there was an audible thud, but really, this is an episode about ghosts. This is an episode where the Doctor is genuinely considering whether or not there is an afterlife in a situation where the entire rules of nature are being rewritten before our very eyes, and we have wacky moments. This is more confusing than the time I met Shirley Bassey. Cultural reference that will age until what are they gonna do if the medics come down, form a boy band? God Almighty, Jesus! I just. Last week we had probably the best joke in Doctor Who for a very, very long time, which is a joke about the last chair on Skaro. This one, it's a joke now. Just Shirley Bassey. He's met Shirley Bassey, a planet where everyone's got long necks, and boy band Ghostbusters winning. #winning. This'll all do. When in reality it doesn't do, and it just leaves me going. Oh, remember when this was a sci-fi? Remember when we had things to be afraid of? Stories that you could get invested in with characters that were compelling and characters were actually written in a way which made them feel three-dimensional. Remember that? Remember how that was only a week ago? Dear me. Anyway, this is enough waffling about vague points to do with the story, because let's be honest, I have nothing of real value to say about the story because it is just fine, but very apprehensive fine. It ticks the boxes. It goes from point A to point B without falling over, without really making me mad or sad. It just does the business, and then it ends. So we'll move on to performances. We actually do have quite a few things I want to get angry about. Okay, so if you've been watching the Timeshift for quite some time now, you'll know that when it comes to performances, particularly Doctor and Clara, I tend to just put my hands up and say, they're fine, they're great, they're amazing, as always they are. This week, not so much, but I'm not putting that, once again, I'm not putting that down to a actual performance thing. It's a little bit more directorial, a little bit more written. There seemed to be something missing behind the eyes with certainly Capaldi's performance, and Jenny Coleman and Clara fine, perfectly fine, because you can just put any line in front of Jenny Coleman and she'll say it with sincerity, and then she'll pull a cute face and then collect the paycheck. There's something missing with Capaldi's performance, and I can't quite put the finger on it. It felt as though it may be directing, or it may be the fact that it just felt as though there were certain fibres missing from the Doctor Who character, which may once again be the fact that the character feels so different to what we had last week. I understand, and this is a point which really annoys me, it really pisses me off about what will be this new series of Doctor Who, is the fact they're having to nullify and having to neuter and to tone down the Doctor to make it a lot more warm and friendly, as though people have kind of forgotten what the regeneration process is supposed to be. The regeneration process, for people who are new to Doctor Who may have only started watching it during David Tennant's time, it's more than just a physical change. It's also supposed to be also a personality change. if you watch classic Doctor Who, you'll see the differences between certain personalities, which is why when you have the 4 Doctor episodes or the 2 Doctor episodes, the 2 personalities clashing against each other is usually good for a bit of a laugh and a bit of a weird juxtaposition at times. And the only time we've really had that, of course, was when we had the 50th anniversary, or whichever, I think it was 50th, when we had David Tennant and Matt Smith Doctor Who's together, and War Doctor, and we had a bit of banter between the two because, slight juxtaposition. And understand that for some people the idea that the personality would change was a bit odd, considering just how similar both David Tennant's and Matt Smith's performances, and well, rather the Doctors that they played, were. I dare say that that's one of the problems I'm always going to have between the pair of them, is the fact that as Doctors they're so bloody similar, but whatever, that's just the way that was. I'm not going to change that now. Nothing can be done to change it. But of course, to have Peter Capaldi now coming along to have such a different Doctor Who, many people didn't like it, so it's now been neutered. And I think this is one of the episodes maybe where that became an official thing, where they've said, right, from now on we are going to have him softer, we're going to have him a little bit more approachable, a bit more nicer. Still a little bit eccentric, still a little bit angry looking, but a little bit softer and nicer, which feels a little bit odd considering that last week he was more or less the same as he was last series, but a little bit softer, subtly softer, almost soft in a way which suggests that by the end of this series he's going to have a character arc. He's actually going to grow and develop as a character, rather than this week he feels a little bit too wacky for my liking. And of course, with the moment when he's talking about how excited he is, how excited he is about the ghosts, felt very, very odd, because this personality of the Doctor, once again, when it comes to the paranormal stuff, when it came to the afterlife stuff from last series, was just flat out, no, it doesn't exist, it's nonsense, it's all superstition, it's all religious beliefs. If you believe that, fair enough, but I don't believe it, well, because I'm the Doctor, blah, 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 blah. Which was fine last week. This week, it's ghosts, yes, ghosts. Did they come back? What does it taste? Do they get hungry? What did they smell? What's going on with ghosts? Which felt very strange and felt like a weird juxtaposition. Particularly as there's moments where he'd start to tone it down and start to be allowed to be the great actor that he is, start applying some gravitas to it, which he can't really do with his all the giddy, silly, wacky, post-David Tennant Doctor Who Doctor. But whatevs, which is the reason why his performance felt a little bit off. I mean, not terrible, but a little bit off. Which the rest can't be said for the rest of the cast. All the supporting cast within this episode were crap. To be quite honest with you, utterly, utterly crap. Once again, Clara, the Doctor, fine, great, fantastic, A-star, go home early. Everybody else, just Jesus, titty fucking Christ, what the hell? Where did they get these guys from? I mean, seriously, I'd expect people to be lining up around the door to just get a cameo appearance in Doctor Who. Are these really the best people we can do? Now, of course, I don't mean this as a personal thing. I don't mean to offend anybody that's involved with it at all, but really, some of the performances this week were just crap. I mean, there's only so far that you can say it's a writing thing, it's a directing thing. Because, Jesus Christ, you can say that. Peter Capaldi this week being a little bit empty behind the eyes during some moments and some lines, fine. Directing, he had a bad day, he had stomachache, he ate shellfish. We can say whatever. The writing didn't quite click for him, the directing didn't quite click for him. That's fine, we can make excuses for that because we know how great Peter Capaldi can be in just about any role that he's given. With these guys, there's no... It makes the bad writing seem all the more bad, and their performance is all the more worse. It's like staring off into infinity. It's bad performance reading bad lines. You have that weird ginger guy, the representative from the petrol company, who I just was expecting him to some moment turn around and say, "We've got to have money." Because every line that he had, every line that he was saying was about how much something's worth. Yes, we own all the oil here. We own all the land for all the oil. Ooh, that weird alien device. Ooh, I bet that's worth a lot of money. Ooh, we've got to have money. I mean, my God, it felt as though we were off in weird Paul Verhoeven Robocop land, but in an infinitely worse way. I love Robocop, although if anyone gets perturbed. I love Robocop. Favourite movie, probably. And suddenly we find, okay, money. I'm all about the money. I'm the money man. I'm the evil businessman. But I'm not really evil because that would involve some kind of performance and some kind of writing. I'm just vaguely bad. And now I'm dead. Oh no, don't open the door, don't. Oh no, I'm dead. I'm a ghost now, so now I'm going to go around mumbling, blah, 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 blah. Of course, you have the Doctor Who fangirl. I'm sorry, am I the only one who finds the idea of the being in-universe Doctor Who fans to be really fucking stupid? I couldn't understand it during the Russell T Davies time, because at least that was a point where it felt somewhere justified. The first episode, we had a Doctor Who fan, but it was a weird thing. The way that I can't remember his name, and I really like the guy that played it. When he was in the first episode where Rose went off to meet the guy who knew all about the Doctor, his obsession felt genuinely like the kind of thing that your average conspiracy theory nutcase would put together. The kind of thing they work on in the spare time, the family will be fine with because it's harmless, it's not doing anybody any harm. Fine. That was fine. It was an enjoyable, serious, logical way of doing it. A way that felt actually fairly contemporary for many of the weird conspiracy theories that we have in the modern day. Of course, later on we had Love and Monsters. The least we talk about that, the better. But of course, Doctor Who fans who are all quirky and weird, but still more or less the same thing. Then, of course, a couple of series ago, we had the Great Universe reboot. Well, not reboot in the literary sense, but when the Doctor had to restart the Big Bang because of all the cracks appearing around the universe, which I thought was supposed to almost erase people's knowledge of his existence. I mean, there was one moment, wasn't there, where there was a Dalek, either in that, towards the end of that episode or later on, where the Daleks didn't know who the Doctor was, and how triumphant Matt Smith's Doctor looked at that point. I can't remember this because it's been a while ago, and I can't really look it up on a previous Timeshift because I wasn't doing the Timeshift then. So the fact that people actively know about him again feels very, very weird, as though someone didn't get the memo. And then, how do they know the Doctor? Isn't humanity's greatest superpower the fact they can forget things? Don't we remember this from that stupid tree episode from the last series? And of course, it was delivered, the performance itself was delivered in all the gravitas and the seriousness of a bowl of soup. The character was barely in it, but they managed to successfully infuriate me every time they opened their mouth. I mean, giddy, boundless enthusiasm for being with the Doctor, sure, that's fine when you're in this reality, when you're in this dimension when the Doctor is a fictional character. But if you knew anything about the Doctor in the Doctor universe, you'd know you want to stay as clear away from that guy as you fucking can. Because yeah, he'll probably save the day, but there's a good chance a lot of people are going to die in the process. So, of course, when we had the moment we're saying, right, if you want to leave now, you can leave now, but we're going to press on. You guys, you're scientists. You've all signed up to make discoveries, so we're all going to come over to discover something and save the world or something. At that point, the Doctor Who fan should have been there like, haha, it's great, I'm going to be going on an adventure with the Doctor. Oh, Christ, everybody dies, I'm getting out of here. At that point, they should have been doing the maths. They're like, right, there's the wacky bumbling one, there's the serious one, there's the big boss one, and oh Christ, I'm the comic relief, I'm gonna die first, right, I'm going, goodbye everybody. I would stay around, but according to the laws of writing, I'm probably gonna be the first to die, goodbye. I just left it at that. I mean, seriously. And who else? Well, there was the woman with the sign language, which was fine. And also some people strangely were getting perturbed by the fact it was someone doing sign language. I couldn't understand it in the case of the kind of broke the narrative flow ever so slightly because you had to have her signing and then you had to have the signer interpret it. And I suppose just subtitles, in my opinion, would be perfectly fine. We get the idea. But I didn't find the fact that she was doing sign language the problem. I found the problem with the character just being bland. Her role, if she was able to speak or not, would just be the gruff, tough leader character, the tough, gruff military captain, the person that's all about saving their team and defeating the aliens at whatever cost, albeit in a way which doesn't actually involve them doing anything because they're not actually military people, they're just looking for oil or something. Whatevs. Bland and unremarkable. The signer guy was just the signer guy. His entire purpose for existence is just to allow one of the other characters to speak. So the fact they haven't anything resembling personality at all, I think, is a truly remarkable factor. The fact that character is still unremarkably boring is another thing. I worry sometimes with Doctor Who with the extra characters, and particularly in episodes like this, where there is no standout performance apart from the Doctor and Clara, because then it means that I have nothing to feel when bad things happen. I need characters to be compelling, I need them to be interesting, and I need the writing to back that up, because inevitably they're gonna die. At least 2 characters from the main cast next series are going to die. Well, not the main cast, the Doctor, but of the wacky scientists are probably going to die. And the fact will probably be told that we need to be crying and need to be sad about it. The Welsh choir will be playing in the background going, ooh, 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 isn't it sad, ooh, and we'll be expected to have some kind of emotion for characters who themselves, I don't think the actors themselves are capable of performing any kind of emotion. Dear me, but of course we'll soon see. Maybe they'll all survive. Maybe this will be like the Are You My Mummy episodes from series 1, where everybody lives in the end. Maybe, maybe not. There'll be time warping, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, and true love will probably save the day again. Oh dear me. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get into the overview. Okay, time for the overview, but as you can probably tell, I'm not best pleased with this week's episode. Not because it's inherently bad. Let's just draw a line with it. I didn't hate this week's episode. It didn't make me angry. It didn't make me mad. I just found it to be incredibly unremarkable. It's not an episode that I'll probably look back upon with any kind of fondness towards this series. And of course, when we get to the end of the series, when I'm doing my look back, so my top 10 or bottom 10 lists, this will be one of the episodes where I struggle to even remember. Even though I'll have the video about it, even though I'll have the notes, I won't remember watching it, much like the Caretaker episode from last series. And the only reason I remember the name of that one is because I went back through my previous episodes to just try and get a feel of just some of the episodes that we had last series. I mean, this is an episode which I just really can't think of anything worthwhile to even say about it, to even rip the piss out of it. It was fine, perfectly fine, not great, not good, but sufficient. I have heard some rumours about the writer from Kill the Moon coming back for this series, and they're going to be doing a 2-parter. I don't know if that's true or when that's going to be, but when that happens, I probably am going to get very, very angry. If it's true. Like I said in the start to the first episode of this new series of Timeshift, I have avoided all kind of promotional materials, all kind of episode listings or anything like that, because I want to do this episode, or rather do this series as purely as I can, without any of the stupid hype and bollocks and upsending that we've had last series, because that really pissed me off last series. Is probably why I hated last series so much. Of course, that's all me. I found the episode to be average, fine, fairly naff at times. But what did you think? Did you love this week's episode? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section in whatever web zone you're watching this on. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.